Hi guys, how are we? Do you know what? One of those days where it just feels cold. Yeah, I think it might be an English thing. Might be an English film. It's like just I don't know, it just feels cold. So I got my Elvis thing on that Tony got me. Got me leather jacket on. I had the heating on for a bit. I've just put the other heating on. And so welcome to Defending Elvis. I have been on the laptop since 7 in the morning. Yeah, actually earlier. I've been dealing with YouTube. I'm not just don't. I can't be bothered. You got to fill out loads of forms. You got there's loads of responses, replies, and oh my god, I can't be bothered. Remember, guys, the brand new Defending Elvis, where we are defending Elvis respectfully with a forgiving heart. We're trying to show more respect. We're trying to be more understanding. Yeah, trying to come across a bit more. Try to see other people's point of view rather than sort of less firm. What's the right way of putting it? Just different. Yeah, the way we were doing it wasn't working out, was it? So, if I have any problems, YouTube is going to deal with it, not me. So anything happening outside of my channel that I feel breaches the rules of what's the right word? Harassment, intimidation, copyright infringement, slander, bullying, anything like that. I'm not dealing with it. YouTube are dealing with it. So that is why I've spent the whole morning since gone 6 in the morning, 6 a.m. Till now. So that is why I haven't made any videos today. So I did manage to, when I quickly went for a walk, I did manage to do a quick half-hour chat with you guys. So I really enjoyed it, actually. I needed the break. You know when you're like you feel like you're engrossed in a computer. I just needed to get out. But the thing is, it was bloody freezing. And my hair's a state. I need to cut my hair, dye it, need a shave. And I don't like being too cold. Ooh. You know, the winter in England is quite nice because you put the heating on, you cozy up. But I think there's an adjustment. You know, you go from, because I think we had quite a good summer. Yeah. Plus I had more holidays than normal this year. We had an extra holiday because it was my wife's, me and my wife's 20th anniversary. So, I don't know, I think I was a bit spoiled with nice weather. With obviously we did some brilliant holidays lives, didn't we? Going to the beach, Louis went for a swim in Spain, you know. I stuck the camera in the sand and I went in the water, lost my sunglasses that I love. I actually got brand new ones now. They're not much use in the winter in England. So anyway, so I've been chatting with Karen today. I'm enjoying the new Defending Elvis because I love the fact that yesterday we just picked out some different topics. Yeah, other than defending, I liked it. It was a breath of fresh air, but I also yearned and missed defending. So it's funny. I love the light-hearted stuff. I love it because that's another way to defend, isn't it? Yeah. But at the same time, I'm a defender, and my nature is to defend. Yeah, defend Elvis, defend Lisa, defend the bloodline. So I feel pulled like, come on, Louis, get back to what you were doing before, which I will do, but in a different kind of way, in a different style. That is why we're the brand new Defending Elvis. And I really did want to make a big thing of it, which I did yesterday. To be honest with you, most of the people that I had disputes with, I think I've ironed it out. Honestly, I think I've worked things out. I've been pretty lucky. The people that we've had a few sort of disagreements with have been pretty nice, pretty kind, pretty fair. So it seems to be falling into place. I sort of remember with my bank manager when I was young, when I was And let me just play this video just for a second so I can see Donna's lovely face. Yeah, yeah. Because you know I love Donna, right? Donna Presley. So, a little story for you guys. This is the true story. So, let's try and go back in time. Yeah? It is 1988. And my father sold his business. He really regretted it. He didn't like it. He actually had a bit of a mini breakdown. Well, like not a proper breakdown, but you know, he was gutted that he sold that business. He'd been in that business for 30 years. I actually tried to talk him out of it. When I was 17, I begged him not to sell it, but he wouldn't listen to me. Dad, I do love my dad, but you know, it was a difficult time. And I remember that year arguing with my dad, like, come on, Dad, you love it here. What are you selling it for? You know, he'd been offered quite a good price. 1988, I was 17. I enjoyed, because even though I'd left home when I was 15, I eventually did work sometimes for my dad. Not all the time, because I worked in a garage fixing cars. I worked in a nightclub. I had a few jobs, yeah. But eventually I would always drift back to my dad. My dad had a fish and chip shop, yeah. So I would help him there. I would serve late at night. I would serve all the nightclubbers coming out of the discos, and I would serve them, you know, sausage and chips, pie and chips, you know, fish and chips, yeah. I enjoyed it, actually. You know, kebab. My dad started making homemade kebabs. He was actually really good at it. My dad's kebabs were really tasty, yeah. So my dad just got it in his head that he was going to sell the business. Now, remember, we lived there. Well, should I say my sisters lived there. My brother lived there. I was sort of living with my girlfriend when I was 17. Don't forget, in those days, you could get a flat, get married at 16 years old in England. It was not unusual to get married or live with a girl. It was quite normal in 1988. Believe it or not, you know, people talk about the 50s and the 60s being different because you know different ages that people was acceptable to get married in the 50s and 60s and 70s was very young, wasn't it? People got married, you know, the ages people got married back in the 50s and 60s. Now people would like scream and holler and it would be completely unacceptable. Elvis lived in different times. It was very normal to have a younger girlfriend. Yeah. A man in his 20s being with a woman 16, 17, 18 was completely normal. Yeah. But now, shock horror. Get it? Now, obviously, I wouldn't want my 16-year-old daughter to marry a man, you know, a lot older. But different times. So I'm there. I'm telling my dad, come on, Dad, don't sell it. Don't sell it. Yeah. He sells it. The minute he sold it, within a few weeks, he was gutted. He was so upset. Like I'd never seen him that upset. He didn't cry. He just, he felt lost. He felt completely lost. So the decision was made to move back to Cyprus. We did have a small home. We still do. Small home in Cyprus. Okay. So my mum and dad moved back there. I didn't want to go. So I said to me, Mum and Dad, I'll tell you what, I'll come with you. I'll help decorate the house for you, you know, paint and decorating it, tidy it up, fix it up for you. But then I'm coming back to England. So I went with my dad for about 8 to 10 weeks, help fix up the house, you know, as well as a 17-year-old boy can do, yeah. And I came back. So it was me and my twin brother. We rented a very tiny little flat. It was literally one room, yeah, and freezing cold. Cold water to shower in. I had no money for food. We could just about scrape together the rent. I was working in Bristol, so there was a bus journey either way, which took nearly an hour because the traffic was terrible. I remember sleeping in the bus because I was so tired, because every day, by the time I got home, I would fall asleep, wake up, and I'm catching the bus again. going to Bristol, working in the clothes shop. I worked in the suit department of Burton's menswear. So that was my life. Sort of get up at 6, catch the bus, fall asleep on the bus, wake up, rush to the clothing shop, catch the bus home, fall asleep on the bus, come home. I had to eat cabbage and gravy or pate sandwiches because I couldn't afford anything else. Couldn't afford clothes. My friend Oliver, who's a massive Elvis fan, Oliver Zammit, was paying for me to go out with him because I had no money. And I was like that for about a year. Yeah. So then suddenly I just get this brainwave. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to open a market stall. Yeah. I had this vision of, because in those days, in the 80s, people had market stalls. So they would put a table out like this one, and they would get their wholesale products from the wholesalers, put their stuff out, and they would just go around the different markets. And I always remember when I was working in Bristol, I would look out the window on my tea break. So we would get a tea break, yeah, and a lunch break. I'd look out the window and look. The tea room was right at the top of this very old Victorian building. I would look down on my break, and I would think, I was 17 years old, yeah. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. This guy would walk up with a wheelbarrow, like down the high street, you know, the main shopping area. Put his wheelbarrow down. This guy was selling jewelry, but it was cheap jewelry, yeah, you know, sort of plasticky, colourful stuff that you could buy for £1 or £2. He would put all his stuff out, and he would spend the whole day there. And I would look out. Sometimes he'd have a helper, and I'd look out. It'd be him with it, maybe his wife. And I'd look down at the window, drinking a cup of tea, yeah. And I'd think, I want one of those, because I was only getting paid £90 a week. Now it cost me £12 a week just to go to Bristol because I had these little bus passes. It was the X1 bus. I will always remember the X1 bus. And I used to look out that window, think, yeah, I want to do that. I had no money, nothing. Yeah. So I'm working every week. Eventually I get a promotion. I get moved to a different shop in Bristol, Broadmead, called Blazer Menswear. It was a posh clothing shop. And the guy came and offered me a job. He saw me working in Burton's, and he liked the way I worked. So I was a very hard-working guy, yeah? Very friendly with the customers, very helpful. This guy just noticed me. He comes over to me and goes, do you want a job in my shop? It's only up the road. It's called Blazer Menswear. And he offered me a job, and I had a bit of a pay rise. It was something like £118 a week. Well, to me, that was the difference between me eating and not eating. Yeah. So, and it was a beautiful shop. Everything was really expensive. It was like, back then, it was like £120 for a pair of trousers. Yeah. But in those days, you could buy trousers for £20. So everything was at market. So we'd get celebrities coming in. I loved it. But I always used to say to the people I worked with, I used to say to them, oh, I want to do my own business. That guy with his wheelbarrow, he's probably making £100 a day. I'm making it a week. So I would say to the other guys, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find somewhere where I can have my own wheelbarrow and sell figurines, souvenirs. I think in those days, they used to call it swag, SWAG. So I started saying to my mates and my brother, my twin brother, I'm going to leave. I'm going to take out a bank loan. I'm going to find a little unit in a market, an indoor market. Yeah. You know, flea market. Is that what you call it? They were like, nah, you're never going to do it. You're never going to do it. I'm saying, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I just had it. I made it in my mind. I liked working in the clothes shop. In fact, I really liked it. I used to really like dressing up. They would let you dress up. I made some nice friends in Bristol. Bristol was only like 25 minutes from here in a car, but on a bus, it was over an hour. So I had to work Saturdays as well. So I was working Monday to Saturday. So I had no life. Yeah, I had no money, no life. Couldn't afford to go out unless my friend paid for it. and couldn't even buy shoes. Couldn't even buy shoes. So I went to the. I made up my mind. I'm going to go and get a bank loan. Yeah, I had some savings. I had £2,000 saved up from. In the I always say from a little child, literally from when I was 7 or 8, I used to save my money. I had a little Mickey Mouse Abbey National savings account. Do any of you remember that from England? Mickey Mouse Abbey National savings account. And I would save up my pennies. And every week I would get my pennies and put them in my bank account. I really was a saver. I knew how to save. I really believed in saving, yeah? So, by the time I got to 17, I'd saved up £2,000. None of my friends had money. I was the only one that had money. All of my friends wasted their money, including my brother. My brother couldn't save, yeah? My twin, yeah? So I go to I'd already found out where you could buy wholesale products to sell. It was on a road called Stapleton Road in Bristol. Look it up, Stapleton Road. It's still there. And the place was called Ranjani's. So I goes to the bank manager. I remember him. Mike Reed. So by then I'm 18. Yeah. I still remember him now. So I sits down in front of him and I goes, I want to quit my job. I want to do a market stall. I want to sell gifts, souvenirs, figurines, swag. Yeah. I'd already found a unit. So on the seafront, there was a large indoor market and there was a spare unit. It was only in the summer. It was £117.50 a month. Yeah. No, a week. Yeah. So I found the unit. I found where I was going to buy the stuff. I wanted it to be like a pound shop type place. So in those days, there were no pound shops. So I am the original pound shop. Yeah. So this wholesale place that I found, when I bought the goods, it was all cheap stuff. 50p, £1, all stuff I could sell for £1 or £1.50, £2. So I went to the bank manager. He sat me down. He goes, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Look, I want to do a little market stall. I want sell, cheap stuff for the holiday makers, the day trippers in my seaside town where I live. Along the promenade, along the beachfront." So he's sort of looking at me like that. 18-year-old kid, got no money. He goes, "I'll tell you what. How much savings have you got?" So I goes, "I've got £2,000 saved up." He goes, "If you prove to me that you have £2,000 saved up," which I did in the Abbey National, he goes, "I'll lend you £2,000. That's what he said. And that was the beginning of everything. So this is what I did. I paid a deposit to the guy in the market. He wanted 1 month's rent in advance. Let me just try and remember. No, he wanted a month's rent in advance. Yeah. His name was Ray. I always remember Ray. He had a massive red birthmark on his face. Massive. And I remember he met me in his Jaguar. He was in a Jaguar and he met me outside the market. It's funny because the bar next door to the market, I now own. But back then I had nothing, yeah? So I goes to him, "Ray, how do you make your money?" And do you know what he said to me? "I just worked hard, mate." Simple answer. How do you make your money? "I just worked hard, mate." There was my answer. I knew. Bang. Work hard, you can get rich. And Ray was rich. I always remember he had a beautiful girlfriend. I always used to think, what are you doing with him? She was stunning and he was not good to look at. So having lots of money can get you a good looking girlfriend. I remember thinking that. But, I never had a problem getting girlfriends. I always found it very easy to get a girlfriend. Yeah. Let's just think. So the first thing I did, I went and bought some shoes. I had no shoes. I bought some beautiful leather shoes on Park Street in Bristol. Beautiful leather shoes. Shouldn't have done it because the money was to start the business. Yeah. But I didn't have any money for shoes. I needed shoes. So basically, I rent my little unit. I pay Ray his month's deposit. I go to Bristol, Stapleton Road. I borrow someone's car and fill it to the brim with cheap things. It only cost me about 30p each. These items, 30 cents, yeah. So I got my little unit. The unit was like this. It honestly was a small. I say, I make a joke of it. The Elvis shop where nothing is for sale. It was this big, yeah. I'll post a picture of it on Facebook, okay, guys, just to show you that I'm not talking rubbish. So there was no shelves. So I had a friend called Paul Beckham who now lives in London, and I was on my own. My brother was working. My brother had a full-time job as a garage manager, tire fitting, and it was a place called Charlie Brown's in Bristol. My brother was like assistant manager. Yeah. Even though he was only 18, he was very good. My brother, he could manage things. Yeah. So basically, me and Paul go to B&Q. Back then, there was this B&Q DIY places. They don't exist now, do they? Yeah. So I get some white shelves, some brackets. I get a wallpaper table from Argos. I get some red sheets from the local, is it Taylor, wherever, I don't know what they call them, to cover all the tables. I had 3 of them. And I covered the tables in red sheets. I put my white shelves up. I put all my stock out. So it was obviously loads of gifty souvenirs, day tripper type stuff. And this is the truth, guys. Opening day, I think my memory, I've got receipts for this. I kept everything. I think it was March the 23rd. And I got my little chair, my little unit, it looked really cool. Yeah. And I was making, this is no lie, guys. Once it opened, it did take a week or two for the coaches to start dropping off the older, it was generally older people that would visit the seafronts, the seasides. And I was making £200 a day. £200 a day, not profit, but I felt rich. I felt, I'm done. I'm like, yay. I could eat. We could get a nicer flat. I could buy clothes. I could go out. I never worried about money again. Now, my brother joined me because what happened was my brother at the same time wanted to leave his job. And my brother said to me, it was his idea, let's do a chip shop. Let's do a fish and chip shop. So then we became partners and we ran the gift shop and the chip shop together. And we employed my sister, Dora. She would help run the gift shop. And we never looked back. We never looked back after that. After that, we had many other businesses, cafes, takeaways, very much catering at first. Eventually, we got a little bit bored of the catering, the cooking. It's hard work, isn't it? Running a cafe, running a fish and chip shop. So then we started looking at bars, like pubs, because we thought that would be fun. Let's get a pub. We'll meet some girls. We won't smell of fish and chips. We always smell of fish and chips. So running a pub was like, yeah, we can play music. Our mates would visit us. Our mates could work for us because we would employ all our friends. All of my friends worked for me. And so in the daytime, we would serve fish and chips, serve in the cafe. In the nighttime, we would work in the pub and have fun. Yeah. So that was my life through the 90s, the late 80s, obviously 89. By 1989, we were pretty established. And then we would just run the businesses and really happy times. Very exciting. I loved having money. I was so used to not having money. Having money was wow. Yeah. I grew up very poor. Yeah, I really did grow up in a slum. Where I grew up was disgusting. You would be horrified just how horrible my home was. Now, I had my brothers, my sisters, mum and dad and that, but I'm not going to boast about it. I've got beautiful memories of the 70s and 80s, but I also have terrible memories. So that's it, guys. That's the story. So then what we then did was we got into the pubs. The pubs were very successful. I think because me and my brother were in our 20s and we were very young, you know, and we were a bit like Wham. Have you heard of Wham? You know, George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley were behind the bar, Louis and Andy. And then I eventually started DJing. The reason I started DJing is because my DJ walked out. During one night, he got huffy and just walked out. So I said to my brother, I'm going to DJ. What's so hard about it? Just play records, yeah? And say a few things on the microphone. I found DJing very easy, yeah? I loved music. I loved dancing. I loved the flashing lights, the atmosphere of a bar, of a nightclub. I absolutely love nightclubs. Honestly, the nightclubs in my town were like Saturday Night Fever, yeah? You ever watch Saturday Night Fever, John Travolta? That's how the nightclubs were when I was growing up. Pizzazz, pizzazz. So having my own bar that was like a miniature nightclub was heaven, heaven. You know, obviously, we did work hard. We worked day and night, and we worked day and night for 25 plus years, yeah? But it was so much fun. We had so much fun. We had the best time ever. We also suffered from bullies and from jealousy. I think if you have success in life, you get a lot of bullies, yeah? You get a lot of jealousy. I just think it's part of the parcel. I think we get it here on my channel, yeah? If we're successful, if we become well known, if we're, you know, I feel that because we're making a difference, boom, we get a backlash, yeah? It's just part of life, guys. So then we got a massive nightclub that held 1,250 people. It was packed. It was called Senoritas. Senoritas was the name of the nightclub. And it was so busy for like 15 years, yeah? We had the time of our lives. And I met my wife really because of Senoritas, because of, we opened a few bars. One was called Elements. And the way I met my wife was really simple, yeah? I was in Elements, which was just a small bar, a very cool, trendy bar. And she was crossing the road, yeah? And she had been into the bar and asked if there were any jobs going, yeah? So the barmaid, as I walked into the bar Elements, the barmaid said to me, you know, there's a girl just been in asking for a job. So I said, now I'd noticed a girl with a white coat on, with blonde hair, walked past me about 20 minutes earlier. And I remember looking over at that girl thinking, she's nice, yeah? Don't forget, I was single, yeah? I'd been through a heartache. My ex-girlfriend was very unfaithful to me, more than once, yeah? It's a long story, guys. My ex-girlfriend was pretty cruel to me, okay? I know I was a good-looking guy, but I tell you now, it didn't stop her being unfaithful, yeah? But the point is this. I'd been single for about a year, and I was going to stay single because I was sort of fed up. I was in my mid-30s, and I remember thinking, I ain't never going to meet anyone. I'm never going to meet... I always wanted to settle down. I always wanted kids. In my heart, I was a family person. I was a family person in my heart. People didn't believe me because I was in business and I drove a red Porsche. I had a bright red Porsche because I had, you know, different girlfriends, and because I was a DJ, because I ran bars, nightclubs, and we were known for being very wealthy, me and my twin brother. No one thought I wanted to settle down. So when I used to say to people, you know, I want to settle down and have kids, they'd be like, yeah, whatever. They didn't believe me, but I knew I wanted to settle down. They would see me DJing, they would see the attention I was getting, being a DJ, running nightclubs. And in my heart, I was like, I just want to settle down. I just want to have a wife and kids and have a normal home. I didn't want to DJ anymore. I wanted to, because obviously you drink alcohol, we would have a drink. I mean, I was never a big drinker, but if I DJ'd, I'd have a few drinks, yeah? I'd even have a smoke, a bit of a cigarette. I never ever like pot, anything like that. No drugs. I'm completely against pot and drugs. Always have been, yeah? I just liked a few drinks, a few Bacardi and Cokes, a bottle of beer. That was me. Not much, yeah? I think I did smoke a bit more than I should have done, but not overly. To be honest with you, I never really liked smoking. But what it is, I was a social smoker. So if you have a drink, then I'd have a cigarette. Yeah. If I didn't have a drink, I wouldn't smoke. Like during the day, I wouldn't smoke. I never drank during the day. I only used to drink weekends. Yeah. So I was, it was all about the nightclub, DJing, discos, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. So my wife pops into the bar looking for a job. As I walked in to the bar, I noticed the girl with the white coat, and she was crossing the road. So the barmaid said to me, that girl's just been looking for a job. I looked round. Oh, that's the girl that I noticed with the white coat. So I went, whistled. Yeah. She looked back like that. She went, all right. And I went, are you looking for a job? And but I remembered thinking, oh, I like that girl. Yeah. Really stunning, beautiful girl, my wife. Yeah. So she walked back into the bar. We just got chatting. I gave her a proper interview and I gave her a job. Yeah. But funny thing is, I never worked with her for about a week and a half. I didn't really see her because she was working in, I had four bars and she was working in two of them. Yeah. So what would happen is I would go in on a Saturday and I would work with my wife. Yeah. So bit by bit, we got to know each other. We became friends. And then there was sparks straight away. Yeah. Straight away. Even when I gave her the job interview, I knew I liked her. I wasn't sure if she liked me. I knew I liked her. I even walked her to her car. Her car was parked in the car park. And the car park was only 10 minutes away. And the very first time I met Aurora, she was a bit lost because she's not from Weston. She's from Bath City. Bath City is a very famous city in the UK. And I said to her, oh, do you want me to walk you to your car? I knew something was different. So I walked her to her car. I remember walking Aurora to her car thinking, gosh, she's beautiful. Yeah. She was funny. She was loud. She was quite spunky. Yeah. She wasn't quiet and shy, but she was shy in her own way, but she wasn't as well. She was funny. I walked her to her car. I started working on Saturdays with her. Within a few weeks, we knew. Yeah. When you know. Yeah. And that is the story of my life. And so from having no money, having not being able to eat, working like a dog just so I could pay my rent, living in a freezing cold one-room flat with my twin brother, within a couple of years, everything changed. Everything. By the time I was 21, we were on our way. We never worried about money again, ever. Not in the same way. So me and my twin brother, obviously, I don't take credit for it. Me and my twin brother, yeah, together. We did everything together. Every decision was done together. And we made some massive decisions. Now, don't forget, we did a lot of that. We had some very bad years, some very good years. It wasn't all easy. Massive mortgages, massive debts, massive. We had 45 staff working for us. Yeah, eventually, it was a struggle all the way through. But obviously, as the years pass, the mortgage starts to get paid off. Yeah, so when we got to 46, the mortgage was nearly paid off. Yeah, so then after sort of everything slowed down. After that, everything got a bit easier. Yeah. But we always suffered from, we always had a lot of jealousy and bullies. That was part of it. But we also had the best time of our lives. And I wouldn't have met my wife, Aurora, who I've got, so I've been eating peanuts, who I've got 5 beautiful kids with. One of them is now 19. And Talia. And my brother had 5 kids as well. No. My brother's got 6 kids. Yeah. Now, don't forget, I have a 6th child, Andreas. He's just had his birthday, November the 7th. He was 28. I love my son, Andreas. Yeah. So me and my brother both have 6 kids each. So do you think about it, guys? I was 36, single, I was a little bit miserable. The money didn't bring me happiness. The owning lots of property and being discos and restaurants and chip shops. We even had an amusement arcade. It didn't make me happy, guys. The proper happiness came when I met my wife and she got pregnant and we had Talia. Then the happiness came. Lots of kids. We had a brilliant time. This is obviously around the 2005, that sort of time, 2004. And, you know, when the kids are young, they're amazing, aren't they? I had the best life with my wife. When we first met, you know, there's 3 of our kids that are now grown up. So Rio is 17, Gio is nearly 16, and Tyler is 19. Their childhood was fantastic. We had the best time ever, which is why we bought this home that I'm in now. Now, I don't live in a massive house. This is quite a modest house, yeah? But it's big enough for us, yeah? The point I'm trying to say is, guys, you never know when the tide will change. You never know what the tide will bring. A 36-year-old man who felt it was time I wasn't going to meet anyone. I was going to go into my 40s as a single man, too old to have kids. That's where I was at 36 years old. In fact, they did a documentary. They filmed a documentary when I was 36 and of me and my brother running our businesses. It was on ITV. It's a local TV station. And they asked me, they said to me, when are you going to settle down? I was 36 years old. They were following me around with a camera in the discos during the day, watching us work together. And I said to the camera, I don't need to settle down. I've got 2 cats, because I had 2 cats, yeah? Kizzy and Joey. And my cats were my company, yeah, when I was 36. I had different girlfriends, but not proper girlfriends, yeah? The one that I liked was unfaithful to me. I told you about her, yeah? And I remember being interviewed on camera by these 2 women. When are you going to settle down, Louis? I said, I don't need to. I've got my cats. Because my mindset was the mindset of, you're going to settle down now. Yeah? Sorry, you're never going to settle down. You're never going to settle down. This is where you are. 36 years old, guys. Not young, is it? And by that year, weeks after I had this TV show that was done about me and my brother, I've got it. If anyone wants to see any clips of it, I've got it, yeah? I met Aurora. And look what happened. Look at me now. I'm in my 50s. I've got 5 kids. Got an amazing life. Lovely home. Beautiful wife. My wife is amazing. And you never know what's around the corner. You never know. The 36-year-old man could never have predicted the life that was coming. So to you people out there that have given up hope, that think it's too late for you, you never know what the tide will bring. Same goes to Louis, the 17-year-old boy who had to eat pate sandwiches, who had to eat cabbage and gravy, who couldn't afford shoes. The 17-year-old boy who was travelling back and forth to Bristol for nothing, for £90, could barely afford to pay his rent, whose parents had gone to live in Cyprus. That 17-year-old boy could never have dreamed by 19 he would have had everything sorted. Money, we even bought a home. By 21, we'd bought our own home, me and my twin brother, yeah? So, never give up, guys. Never give up. Wait. Sometimes things are coming when you least expect it. Sometimes when things are at their worst, something good's coming. A negative thought is a reminder to be positive. If something bad happens, something good is about to happen. Yeah? Never give up, guys. That is the moral of my story. You can never predict what's round the corner, so do not give up. All right, guys, I'm going to come back for a part 2, and we're going to do Donna Presley's video, okay? So I know this hasn't been an Elvis video. I wanted to tell you, Louis, the real Louis, Yeah, not the warped version that has been created by YouTube. Just a normal guy who got lucky. Who got lucky. Take care, guys. Love you all. Team Elvis, you rock.